The Christmas Pig, written by J.K. Rowling, illustrated by Jim Field. Chapter 10 The New Angel. Holly sat hunched up beside Jack in the back seat of the car, still texting all the way into town. "Look at all the snow," said Grain cheerfully as white flecks began to build up on the windscreen and Grandpa switched on the wipers. "Wouldn't a white Christmas be lovely?" Neither Jack nor Holly said anything. The pavements in town were covered in brown slush. Christmas music was playing in all the shops, and there was a chestnut seller on the corner. Jack held Gran's hand, with his other in his pocket, keeping hold of DP. Crowds bustled around them, all doing last-minute shopping. They went into a busy department store. There weren't many Christmas decorations left, and they looked higgledy-piggledy because shoppers were picking them up and putting them down in a hurry. "Here's a lovely angel," said Gran, grabbing the first one she saw. Jack didn't like the angel at all. He thought she was too fancy for their tree. She wore a gaudy purple dress trimmed with gold braid and had large plastic gold wings. Jack didn't think Mom would like her either. She'd loved his toilet roll angel with the woolly beard. "What do you think of her, Holly?" Gran asked, but Holly shrugged rudely and kept looking at her phone. Gran didn't ask Jack. She led them to the checkout desk and bought the angel. Then they headed back to the car park through the cold slush and the blasting crowds. On the way back home in the car, Holly said, "I feel sick." "Maybe you should stop texting while we're in the car, dear," said Gran. Holly rolled her eyes and pressed the button to lower the window. An icy blast filled the back of the car, and flecks of snow swept inside. "I'm cold," said Jack. "I need fresh air," snapped Holly. They reached the motorway. Jack was now shivering. He felt miserable and angry. Why did Holly always have to have things her way? "Gran, I'm cold." "Holly, close the window a bit, please," said Gran. Holly put the window up a fraction. Sleet and snow continued to blow into the car. "It's still wide open," said Jack. Holly stuck out her lower lip, making a baby face, and pointed at DP, whom Jack had pulled out of his pocket. Grandpa saw her do it in his rearview mirror. "Enough of that, miss," he said. "Wind up the window, please." Holly scowled and put the window up another bit. Then she turned to Jack, stuck out her bottom lip again, and pretended to be a baby rubbing tears from his eyes. Jack didn't believe Holly really felt sick. She just wanted to be nasty. She was ruining Christmas Eve, and she'd probably ruin Christmas Day too, snapping at Jack and making herself the center of attention. She kept silently taunting him with a baby face. The hard, tight ball of anger in Jack's tummy burned suddenly red hot. "Loser," he whispered. Holly stopped making the baby face at once. "Shut up," she growled. Jack didn't care that he'd made her even angrier. She was ruining everything. She was rude to Mom, Gran, and Grandpa. She'd come to stay when he didn't want her. It was all her fault Toby the dog had eaten his bearded angel. He wanted to punish her for spoiling Christmas, and he knew exactly how to do it. There was nothing Holly hated in the world more than losing. "Loser," said Jack more loudly. "Jack," said Grandpa sharply from the driver's seat. "I hope you didn't just say what I think you said." Jack didn't answer. He could tell that Holly was on the verge of tears now, and he was glad. He was sick of her bullying. He didn't care about keeping the peace. He'd had no dinner last night because of Holly. He was tired of having to tiptoe around her. She suddenly pressed the window button, lowering it all the way to the bottom again, so that an icy gale blew through the car. Holly began grin. "I'm going to be sick," said Holly. Jack knew she was doing it in revenge. So he did something that he'd seen people do at school. They used their thumbs and forefingers to make an L shape and held it up to their foreheads. The L stood for loser. He made the L shape, held it up, and glared at Holly. So fast that he had no hope for stopping her. Holly leaned forward, seized DP out of Jack's lap, and threw him out of the open window. For a brief second, Jack saw DP frozen against the steely sky, his little trotters spread-eagled. Then he was whipped away out of sight.